What's up, beautiful people? Today we're going to be talking about another anti-immigration video. This one is about Ireland, basically saying Ireland is full and the citizens are rioting to say, stop bringing people in, take care of us first. Pay attention to this one. You might learn a thing or two, or you might not, but let's get to it.
I feel very threatened. I'm afraid to go out on my own. My sons won't let me go out on my own.
Ireland's anti-immigration backlash has spiralled into countrywide unrest in recent months, after a sharp rise in the number of foreigners arriving onto its shores.
Unfortunately, I think Ireland is becoming the new Sweden.
Protests, arson attacks, and hardening anti-immigration views have transfused Irish politics with a fervour not seen since the Troubles.
How long are you going to stay out here for?
As long as it takes.
My name's Michael Murphy, and I went to Ireland for the Telegraph to find out what Irish people make of the growing strife.
We've seen in America, we didn't even know Ireland was going through this. I don't think this is illegal, because I don't think they said illegal immigration. They said anti-immigration. Please let me know. Feel free to clarify if these are illegal migrants.
For the Telegraph to find out what Irish people make of the growing strife. I started my journey in Dublin, where hundreds of people turned out for an anti-immigration march.
We're just fed up with the Irish government. We're just fed up with them. It's like a mass plantation what they're doing here. There's so many unvetted male people being brought over to this country, and they're planting them all in around schools, parks, and we're all feeling very unsafe. We're worried for our children.
We cannot sustain a huge number, that level of foreign people living within the borders of this country, many of which are living off social welfare because they're being attracted here because of the loose welfare laws and immigration laws of the state.
Look after the Irish!
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Look after the Irish!
Just messing around with our heads, this whole government, and I don't trust what's going on. I just want I think they're puppets for other powers, the elites, the WHO and, all the rest of it, and possibly even King Charles. Just puppets for somebody else, and they're not caring for our own people.
So just to note here, I know this video can come out and people think when people protest in this manner, they are racist and they don't like foreigners. That may not be the case. I just want to clarify, I'm not on their side or against them, but I just want to clarify that people protest against this migration overload due to lack of resources. The more people you have, demand goes up, price goes up. And, the space, you have to consider the space. So I think somebody mentioned the parks are filled with tents. Imagine a park where your kids used to play at, and then you go back there and there's somebody or group of people sleeping there, and maybe they have a lifestyle or they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing out there. So you have to understand from their perspective, this is not something I would want you to classify as racism or discrimination. It's just people concerned about or it just might be, because I'm not sure, it just might be people concerned about their environments, their communities, their homes, and that's why they're speaking up against it.
But the Irish and the long-term homeless here from all over the world are living and sleeping in the streets. The council come and take their tents and burn their goods or dump them. And these people are on a housing list 20 and 30 years. But if you come in here off a plane with no passport, you're safe. It's just not right, so there. And to anyone listening to this, call me what the hell you like. Little do I care. Thank you.
Some people have described marches like this as far right. Are you far right?
No, I am a concerned father. I have 3 children. I have 2 daughters and I have a son, 11, 9 and 7. That's why I'm here. Listen, the mainstream media don't report on what goes on really in these areas. There's kids being abducted, there's kids being assaulted, there's kids being raped, there's women being raped, and the mainstream media will not report on it.
To find out more about where the anger is coming from, I went to a traditional Irish pub in the heart of Dublin to sit down with dissident journalist Ben Scallon.
the issue of immigration didn't really come up much in Irish politics. I think we're probably unique in the sense that it's been a major election issue in the UK, in Germany, in America, but across the Western world, while this conversation was unfolding, Irish people haven't really discussed it at election time. And then now, I think around 2019 or 2018, that sort of time period, we saw the beginnings of protests around asylum centres being moved into local areas. And I think that's simply due to a significant uptick that we were seeing, where it was far bigger numbers than what we had experienced previously.
And why do you think the government has made Ireland's borders more porous and has, as you said, rung the dinner bell for asylum seekers and other migrants around the world?
I think that the Irish government is primarily concerned with appearing to be a modern European country, and they admire their European colleagues. They admire countries like Scandinavian countries like Sweden and so on that are progressive.
Wait, why are all world leaders, almost world leaders, taking the globalist view? I would think as a leader, your interest primarily is to your people. And even this is detrimental to these immigrants coming, because if I'm migrating to a country, I want to feel accepted in that country. I want to go there and let the people love me, and I love the people. I want to respect them and live like them. I'm not going there to change things for them, right? So if these guys are coming in and people living in Ireland think we don't want them, that's detrimental to them, because as they're protesting, imagine you're sleeping in a tent in a park, and then 100 people just stand protesting, leave our country, leave our country. How do you feel about that? So even for the migrants, it's not good for them. I don't understand why leaders now are taking these globalist views. Like, I'm not calling them globalists, but I think the views are globalist. If you're more concerned about how the international community sees you rather than how your people see you, then that's the globalist view.
And very trendy, I suppose, if you want to put it that way. Unfortunately, I think Ireland is becoming the new Sweden in a way, because the same way people used to talk about Sweden several years ago, that it was this country that was totally off the rails, they've got total strife, total ghettoization. It seems like having seen the failure of that policy in countries like Sweden and in countries like Germany and France, we want to replicate it for some reason that I don't quite understand.
The Irish government has bussed refugees, often at night and with little warning, into towns like Roscrea, sparking local anger and weeks-long demonstrations. I went to Roscrea, where locals have been protesting for 3 weeks outside the town's only hotel, closed down last month after the government struck a deal with its owner to house more than 160 asylum seekers there.
I am out here, first of all, I'm a mother, and I'm very, very concerned about the level of migration that's happening into our town. We are one of the smallest towns in Tipperary, and we have 85% of international protection applicants. That's a huge number for any town, but for a small town like Roscrea that doesn't have any resources, we have over 1,000 IPAs in town. There's only 5,500 of a population in this town. That's a huge amount to expect anybody to take on.
Some people have said that the town has changed over the last few years. They're scared to go out at night. The playground is left without children. No people want to go there anymore. Why is that?
Well, I think a lot of the thing is, and here again, it's the arrogance of the men that are bringing them into the town. They don't provide any services for them. There's no recreational activities. So you have groups of 10 and 15 IPAs standing around in groups. Now, let it be said, if that was 10 or 15 Irish men standing around in groups, I would be intimidated. But when you're walking past a group of men and they're saying something to you in a different language and you don't know what they're saying, it's very, very intimidating. There's women, older women and men here who won't go to collect their pension on a Friday morning in town because the post office, outside the post office is where they gather. Now, I'm not saying these men could be, they're probably really, really nice lads, but any group that gathers in 15s and 20s is going to be intimidating.
While the protests have been mostly peaceful, some have turned violent. including in Dublin last year, where riots broke out after 3 young children and a woman was stabbed, allegedly by a man of Algerian origin.
Stabbed by a foreigner?
We're here in Crooksling, on the outskirts of Dublin, where, as you can see, Garda are stationed behind me after a suspected arson attack on an abandoned nursing home that was due to house migrants last night. Now, this is one of more than a dozen such arson attacks that have happened in Ireland over the past year.
The Irish state has taken in more refugees than it can house, forcing the government to offer
Why
asylum.
do they keep taking? And also, countries need to do better. Like, because they would have stayed in their country. Nobody wants to leave their home to, live in a tent. I don't think there's anybody whose dream is to leave their home or their country, their family, and what they have to come live in a tent in another country where they might not be accepted. So other countries and other world leaders need to do better to avoid this. Yeah, this is just horrible to see. It's horrible. I feel bad for both parties. Like, I can't even be bashing any side, because I don't know the situation of their countries, why they left, but also Ireland, they need their space. That is where they live. So it's horrible either way. Imagine if everybody had like a good home to stay, then they can get the passports, travel, get a visa, go visit Ireland and feel accepted, and then travel back to their homes. This is just awful. It's very awful, man. National leaders and presidents, prime ministers, you guys need to do better.
Applicants tents and sleeping bags as they arrived in Dublin. Since the Russian invasion, nearly 100,000 Ukrainians have been offered refuge in Ireland. I spoke to one Ukrainian refugee outside of an asylum processing centre in Dublin.
You've lived in a tent here for a month.
Yeah.
And how's that
for
been?
a month?
Well, for me it was better to stay here because no bombs, no military. I don't live here.
Okay.
I have accommodation for like 7 months or something, and now I have right to work. I received this labor market access. I start to work, and I believe in a month or 2 I will be able to rent something.
And how have the Irish people been? Have they been welcoming?
Irish people are different. Like in this area, Irish people were very, very kind, really very kind. It's not that city center that were Spire and all that junky people and all that. Here it was very quiet and like welcoming place.
Excluding Ukrainians, the number of asylum seekers arriving into Ireland has shot up to more than 26,000 over the past 2 years, a growth of nearly 200% from 2019. To find out more about the surge in refugees coming to Ireland, I spoke to Jim O'Callaghan, an Irish lawmaker from one of the governing parties.
So, speaking to people in Roscrea and other parts of rural Ireland, as well as Dublin, people are concerned about unvetted single males entering the country. Do you think that's a valid concern?
Well, I can understand people's concerns, but when people come in, there's a rules-based system that operates in Ireland. And I think one of the failures that maybe we have, as government have, and previous governments have had, is we don't explain the system to people. And obviously the issue that's been looked at present is the international protection system. This derives from an EU directive. We transposed it into Irish law in the International Protection Act 2015. And listen, it provides that a minister can remove a person who's applying for international protection if that person is perceived as being a threat. And obviously individuals come in as well, they're fingerprinted. Anyone who has convictions or is perceived as being a threat can be removed. But you're right, some people are very concerned about the fact that what's referred to as unvetted men are moving into their area. But I think we need to explain that that's not...
Oh, so they're not unvetted. They've actually checked and these guys are not criminals.
The case, because when you look at the system that's in place, there are powers in place for the minister to remove people who are dangerous or who are a threat.
Now, we're hearing a similar story in places like Roscrea and elsewhere about the government doing a sort of backdoor deal with a hotel or a business
to house asylum seekers and not telling the local community or consulting with the local community in advance. People feel like they're not in control of the future of their community and their livelihoods. What would you say to people who have those concerns?
Well, it's a difficult issue for all concerned. Obviously, because of the significant numbers that have come in the past year, government must provide sheltered accommodation for people who are seeking international protection. That's our obligation. We're finding it difficult to do it. Like, there's no point in pretending that we're not finding it difficult to do. And of course, the reason for that is because in 2022, 140,000 people come in. We've seen 100,000 Ukrainians, and there's more people coming in. In terms of the international protection applicants, we have an obligation as well to provide them with sheltered accommodation. So one of the reasons, this is new for Ireland, so the government is going around trying to find alternative accommodation. And that's why units such as hotels are being looked at, or old nursing homes. And yeah, you're right, it does cause concern in the local community, particularly if it's the only hotel in the town. But also, I've got to say to you, there's lots of other places in my constituency and throughout the country where people have come in and there haven't been objections.
Dara O'Brien.
There are some TDs who have spoken out against immigration in the Irish Parliament. 6 of them have formed a loose coalition.
Yeah, I'll put the link to the full video in the description so you can go check it out. I just wanted to bring an idea because we see this border invasion in America and Canada too. I think Canada started limiting their immigration, especially to international students. So we've seen this around the world. We've heard the news around the world, and I thought I should, check out what is going on in Ireland as well. Feel free to, talk to us, educate us if you have something to say, but share the facts, so we can learn from you. And if there's anything you want to add, correct, critique, do so in the comment section. Smash the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.